jab, uppercut, leave you laid out on the floor. Try to duck and roll, hit and miss, now you counting stars. Should've practiced more, should've hit the mask, get out there more. Claim that you're the best. You gotta show me, son. Actions over words, baby boy. Is you real or what? Talking way too much, world combat sports. Talking way too much, world combat sports. Talking way too much, world combat sports.
Yeah, what's good? Shout out to the hottest chat in the MF and Game, A-Side official. No negotiations needed, period. What's good? Tyrese is the first in the building. Salute to you, brother. And big shout out to everyone else who's on deck. I know we got the fight night coming up and people want to see what's popping. I want to see it too. Both the UFC and boxing. I mean, the UFC fight card, MMA, and boxing. So to kick this off, I just want to talk about the article right quick involving boxing scene. Okay. One that people should be paying attention to now that the word has broken, that at some point in time it will become official as to who Boots will be fighting at 154. Now, I say this all the time. We've been waiting patiently, and we've been looking forward to the young lions, as they call them, young bulls, to start making their move. A young bull don't pace around in the same spot forever. You know what I'm saying? Especially if they don't have no leash. So it was something bound to happen. I kind of said this. I mean, I ain't kind of said, but I did. I said that Boots would never unify the 147-pound division. It's in my live streams. I said he would never unify. And it wasn't because I felt that Norman would defeat him. I felt that he was going to stay down there too long and he's going to have problems making weight. That is absolutely the facts of it. I said he would not, regardless of the declaration that he made to unify the division. I didn't believe it. I did not believe it. You have all these people talking about how Boots look time, and then turn back around and, you know, he goes in there and have one decent performance and believes that he's going to now be able to unify the division for Undisputed, and Barrios is about to face Pacquiao. Norman is headed overseas. So I'm saying, what year are you planning on getting this done? Because you have 2 more belts that's out there, and then this is going to be in the 2026. I just felt like his body was, he's a oversized welterweight who's been cutting weight, balancing the scales up to this point. But all of a sudden, when it comes time to make that weight, you know, he says he's going up to 154. This not the first time he showed his face card. He told us he was moving up. Now, with that said, I want to read what Boxing Scene had about Brian Norman. It said, Brian Norman Jr., if I move up, it's only because I ran out of bodies. I think that's a cold line. I think that's one of the coldest lines I've heard in a minute. You know, outside of Jahad Tucker saying, hey, Xander, come pick your effing mans up. I think that's going to be the coldest line out there for a long time. But this right here, when it deals with being a fighter whose name is elevated status, you know what I'm saying? And one of the more entertaining challenges that he had going into his opponent's backyard and all that. I mean, that was a killer right there. He said, if I move up, it's only because I ran out of bodies. If I run out of bodies, I'll move up. That's wild. It said, wild rumors swirl of his high-profile divisional rival set to move on. Brian Norman Jr. has no plans to jump around weight. I got bad news for the other welterweights. I'm very comfortable in this division. Norman told Boxing Scene, I'm going to be here for a good time. If I move up for 147 is only because I ran out of bodies. Cold classic. For now, the unbeaten WBO welterweight titles is fully focused on his next challenge. Now, just think about this. He's going over there to fight Jin Sasaki, and there may not be loud. It may not be a large mass of chatter, but there's chatter out there. I mean, look, they're fighting midweek, y'all. They're fighting Thursday, the 19th. Hold on for a second. Yeah, they're fighting midweek, man. So at the end of the day, there's going to be a lot of people tuned in because it's not much boxing of this magnitude that's popping off during the week. And especially this is an overseas fight in Japan. It goes on to say Norman 27-0, 21 knockouts will attempt the second defense of his title against free swinging Jin Sasaki. 19-1-1, 17 knockouts. Free swinging, y'all. You know what free swinging, Norman Jr., that don't match. Free swinging, Norman Jr., that means it's going to look more like a, when flies get caught in the trap, and go at that free swinging if you want to. Their scheduled 12-round title fight will headline a June 19th ESPN Plus stream from Ota City General Gymnasium in Sasaki's hometown of Tokyo, Japan. The bout comes as there exists the strong possibility of a void at the top of the division. Jaron Ennis, 34-0, 30 knockouts, is the current lineal WBA IBF welterweight champion. Eddie Hearn, Ennis promoter, recently told promoters that his change of plans to move up to junior middleweight, though Ennis, a 27-year-old Philadelphian, has yet to confirm. Okay, so they saying it's not yet to confirm. That's why I said when it becomes official. Norman was once linked to a potential showdown with Ennis, but their planned unification bout died at the negotiation table. Such a fight remains the most appealing in the division. However, it's not at all focal point at the moment for the 24-year-old knockout artist from the greater Atlanta area. So boxing scene is basically tagging Norman Jr. as a knockout artist. And you know how the knockout artist status goes. He keep on knocking people out like he about to do Jin Sasaki. Then it's going to be more and more people talking. They want to see him fight. They want to see him fight. Not to mention what he did to Centillion. I mean, I've seen some fighters do some crazy things in the ring. I have. But to knock a fighter on his chest and then squat down and just like for a snapshot to say, "Hey fella, how you doing, buddy?" You know, it's just raw, man. It's just raw. It's savage too. I'm not gonna lie. Whatever fights are in Norman's future will come when the time is right. The immediate goal is to tear through Sasaki, whose fighting style figures to mesh well with the visiting titleist. Jin is perfect for exciting fights, noted Norman. That boy do not like going the distance. He's about action and entertainment. You see why the Japanese fans love him. With me, you see what happened when I won the title. We went to war. I'm willing to go to war again. May the best man win. In quote, I found it very disrespectful, Norman said. That said, this is a business, and business is a cold game. From that side of it, he was trying to do his best for his side of the street. He painted the narrative of other champions, me and WBC titleist Mario Barrios as ducks, that we don't want the fight. That allows him to claim that he got the boogeyman. Okay? And I guess he's pretty much talking about when he said Norman casually expressed interest at the time in facing winner, but Ennis shut down any talk of revisiting talks until his fight was done. The matter was never revisited until a few weeks ago when Norman was already set to face Sasaki, while Ennis, without a next fight, and Hearn sought to remedy that problem for his boxer. So we done went back and forth with who's avoiding who. And it always goes back to, the business of boxing, with people, especially on this YouTube, do not have any say-so in. So when the numbers are presented and you're listening to what they are, I remember specifically that Senior said, I wasn't going to talk about business out here to the general public. But yet, since they did it, okay, cool. We'll talk about it. So how's that the case of ducking? He come in here and say, we sent in 3 offers. They turned down 3 offers. I mean, come on, bro. That's a dead issue right there. That's a dead issue. It's good that if it is true for him to move up, that's good for him, because I wouldn't want, for him to be the reason to banish freaking Jerron and his fan base. For real. Because, Georgia be lit down here, and then if, big fights will return back down here. Salute the tank. Big fights will come back down here. It goes on to say, having just turned 24, and as someone who truly leads the life of a hungry boxer, Norman is content to handle all challenges in the ring in which they are received. After all, he's not the one going anywhere. I'm focused on my fight June 19th, Norman pointed out. By June 20th, we can get talking. Right now, I'm focused on my mission. And I think that's an article that's quick, straight to the point about, what what Norman Jr.'s, intentions are. But from what we hear, Ennis may be potentially moving up to 154 pounds. But at the end of the day, next week is going to be lit because we have a Thursday night fight and people are going to stay up for that fight. Seriously. They can talk about, we don't matter about that. Who's Jin Sasaki? They're going to stay up because when it comes to these Japanese fighters, for some reason, these American fight fans, they call themselves, they go to that box with the lock on it. Yeah. They go down wherever that box is, in the attic, in the basement, or up under the bed. They go there and they dim the lights. And they go crack that lock and bring out them nice, fresh pom-poms. And they cheer for them Japanese. You know what I'm saying? A Genki, a deska, a Genki, a deska, konnichiwa, konnichiwa. They be over there cheering. It's a weird connection. They be over there cheering for those Japanese to beat these American fighters, bro. And a lot of people don't even know Jin Sasaki. Well, who do they want to compare him to? Oh, like Monster Inoue. Monster Inoue. I mean, you can't compare every Japanese. That's just like being over here in the U.S. comparing every, black fighter to Floyd. But when they go grab them pom-poms and they want to cheer on a Japanese fighter who they vaguely know. It's the weirdest connection ever. But it's going to turn up, man. I ain't going to lie to you. It's going to turn up. I like it. I like the buzz. I mean, I'm pretty sure it's going to be a close quarters battle, mano a mano, between two fighters that don't like going backwards. And, the one thing people are talking about, they talk about how Norman has been down and they talk about how Jin Sasaki has been down, so they're factoring in both of those moments, because boxing fans love just tagging the negative moments of a fight, right? So they're looking at both of those comparisons. So when they produce their analytics, now they want to go off who is they fought. And, Brian Norman has the edge on that. But since we're dealing with a Japanese fighter, they're gonna just say what they want to say. They're gonna act like they know his resume, but then you hear them saying things like, "Oh man, you know them Japanese fighters, they tough, man. Them Japanese fighters, they love coming forward, man. They love going bonsai. They love the entertainment, the it factor. That's why they so popular." Man, come on, bro. Come on, man. A lot of these fighters over here in the US would be popular too if the fight fans got behind them consistently. So y'all be sure to tune in next week. You know what I'm saying? And on the 19th and watch this fight happen. Shout out to everybody that's in the chat. Appreciate you being on deck. Let's get to the highs and lows and the ebbs and flows. So pretty much we already know what the epic biggest fight is coming up, right? So my common psalm about this fight is how the fight fans is really consistently speaking on it, how they view it. Like, I'm speaking from a point where we always got to hear in these boxing panels that the fight fans want. They want the best names to step in there, especially in, certain divisions, right? What's incredibly debilitating is when fighters continue to mention a 14-pound difference. That's it. There's a 14-pound difference, and they act like it's an impossible feat when other fighters have did it themselves. But since we have the fight schedule, Turkey has mentioned a smaller ring. So the reason why I mention this is that they speak on Crawford's name because he didn't go up there and stop Madrimov. Hold on. This gets good. He didn't elevate in the championship fight. We're talking about him vacating his belts at 140, moving up for a championship fight to fight Jeff Horn at 47. Stopped him, right? He went on a knockout spree. All right. He moves up to 154 after stopping Errol Spence. And he has one fight, championship fight. He goes the distance. Okay. He picks up a world title. He wins a world title, yo. A WBA world title. Right? So with that world title, says he won, right? It was victorious because he was the challenger going into that fight. He won. He beat the champion. That same opponent that he beat, the former champion in Madrimov, went the distance with Virgil Ortiz. Virgil Ortiz was already at 154 prior to Crawford entering the division. And he himself wasn't a champion yet, right? So I'm looking at this like, okay, Crawford goes up there and go the distance. But what about Canelo when he moved from 54 to 60 to fight Gennady Golovkin? In that first fight, it was very entertaining, but you didn't stop Gennady. You didn't stop him in the first or the second fight. And there was a positive drug test in between, but you didn't stop him. You didn't stop him at all. But people want to bring up Rocky Fielding when he initially moved up to 168. Let me help y'all figure some things out. When Canelo moved from 60 to 75, y'all want to say he already had a fight at 68. That fight wasn't prior to him moving up to 175 simultaneously. He dropped back down to 60, then moved up to 175, just like Mikey Garcia. He was at 40, beat Sergey Lipinets, and then returned back to 135 for Robert Easter. After he defeated Robert Easter at 35, he moved all the way up to 47 to face Spence. It's not like this feat haven't been done. It's not like it hasn't been done. Mikey Garcia moved up to 135 to face a hitter. Errol Spence, before the accident, all that, no excuses, he was considered a hitter. And he's facing 135 pounds, and the fans was cheering him on, were they not? The fight, look, his fans was, oh man, look, he fight Mikey Garcia, 4 division champion. Yeah. I see. It wasn't this 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 nucleus, you know what I'm saying? This nucleus of negativity that has plagued the boxing community as it is today. I didn't hear why is Errol Spence facing little old Mikey. Oh my God. Look how much weight he has to move up. I didn't hear it though. I didn't hear people talking about Mikey Garcia and Errol Spence Jr. I just heard Errol getting, they thought there was a big fight. They always used it in their boxing debates that Errol sold 350,000. You know what I'm saying? When he fought Mikey, how all the numbers and ticket sales, the gates and all that. But what about this though? What about people who said they wanted to see the best fight the best, but they're looking at the wrong numbers? When you hear people saying it's going to be low ticket sales, you have to factor in they might be slightly retarded selectively. Okay? Selectively. They might be slightly retarded selectively. Because who can predict a fight of this magnitude with Canelo involved is going to be a low ticket seller. Also, it's going to be boring. Look, you have sheep selectively who are choosing to be in the herd and talking about this fight is going to be boring based off one look. Okay, hold up, because it's always evidence out here. So since we're talking about boredom, right? Let's go to the recent Skull Canelo fight. Were they evenly matched? No, they weren't evenly matched. Did anybody consider that to be a 50-50 fight? No one. Not even the premier casual. Okay. You didn't think that was you didn't think it was gonna be, you didn't think it was evenly matched, you didn't think it was a 50-50 fight. Okay, that's two. Did you predict that Skull was gonna go the whole fight without getting knocked down? No, we couldn't have predicted that because most of the fights that's before School, most of them was at least earning one knockdown within that 12-round championship showcase, right? But to hear people talk that it's going to be boring when we just seen Skull and Canelo be a boring fight. We seen Devin Haney and Jose Ramirez be a boring fight to some. We seen Shakur Stevenson and Edwin De Los Santos, a boring fight to some. We've seen boring fights, but they're trying to say this fight is going to be boring because the two participants, they're going to be very, very apprehensive about exchanging. And I was like, wow, you cannot make this up. These people just jump on and ride that wagon straight downhill, yo. Forget the horses. Go ahead, give me a little push now. Well, sir, you don't have any brakes. I know. I got to get used to the impact. I won't be out here saying dumb shit. I got to get used to the impact. They are saying that the fight is going to be boring because this is a global contradiction. I'm talking about intoxicated, sipping on contradiction. They say the fight is going to be boring because the fighters are going to be unwilling to engage, right? But look, tap in now. But you're saying Crawford is not ready for Canelo due to weight divisions. So explain this. Either one, you're saying Crawford is going to run just like Amir Khan did to him, but we never seen a fight where Crawford had ran. Like one of his most intense 147-pound rivals, if you want to say, because it only lasted one fight, was Jose Benavidez. You know, he didn't run with him. How is Canelo supposed to be the better fighter and they don't see this fight a 50-50 fight? So why are you saying that this may be a boring fight? All because you see School running from Canelo. You saw Jermell Charlo. They're literally taking two recent fights and they're throwing this out there just like freaking doodle on a wall. And they're saying, oh man, Crawford's going to run. Crawford's going to run. All because you have two caliber fighters that's not on the level nor the accurate of a freaking Bud Crawford. You're going to compare two fighters to September 13th, all because you're not holding Canelo accountable. If Canelo's not willing to cut off the ring because the check is already hit, don't you believe there should be culpability placed on Canelo selectively? Huh? I think so. I think it should be some culpability, thrown over there. Yes, sir. Yes, no doubt about it. Because you just can't say Jermell ran from Canelo, School run from Canelo, and Crawford's going to run for Canelo. Crawford is no way, shape, or form comparable to a School or Jermell Charlo. It doesn't matter if he has an undisputed reign or not. It doesn't matter. It was embarrassing. It was embarrassing. What's more embarrassing is the fact that you have boxing fans who consider themselves to be hardcore. They look at it like all of a sudden Canelo is going to get back on clan for this fight, because his fight with Gennady Golovkin, to be honest, that was one of his more entertaining fights of recent. Outside of the rematch, that one, the first time him and Gennady, I mean, hey, I'm just saying they might allow no drug testing. I don't know. But to hear these fight fans say that it's going to be a boring fight, all because they're going to be up there posturing. I know what they're trying to get at. They're trying to say because Crawford went the distance with Madrimov, a fighter they weren't giving total credit to at 147 for a knockout streak, he's going to go up there and do the same thing with Canelo. They act like Crawford never threw a punch in the fight at 154. It's just super, super strange. You act like the man didn't throw one punch. You act like he was in there sweeping outside and he was scared, fearful of what Madrimov may do. And that just wasn't the case. It wasn't. If you calibrate or compute Canelo's last several fights, they went the distance. Ain't nobody talking about how he acclimated to 168. Like he's a super middleweight champion, undisputed. Why isn't he getting them guys up out of there? Come on, you got to ask yourself that. If you're saying, Crawford's not getting Madrimov up out of there, but yet you're highlighting Canelo Alvarez and how whatever he's done in his career and all that, but yet you're not saying he should have got those guys up out of there. That's what you're telling me? You're trying to say it's off limits to Canelo to say he should have got Jaime Munguia up out of there, what Bruno Saras did? Bruno Saras got him up out of there, but Canelo couldn't get him up out of there? You talking about William Skull, UD, Edgar Berlanga, UD, Jaime Munguia, UD, Jermell Charlo, UD, John Ryder, UD, Gennady Golovkin 3, UD. He even went the distance with Dmitry Bivol. He already had a fight there, yeah? Once again, global contradiction, selectively. He already had a fight there. That's what they say. Oh, he already had a fight at 175. Okay. So why did he go the distance with Bivol? Why he didn't win? Because y'all talk about Crawford's weight moving up to fight Canelo. And one of your talking points is he's not going to do well because he hasn't acclimated to the 168-pound division. So he's not going to fare well. But there's other fighters who have fared well. For real, there are other fighters who have fared very, very well with Canelo Alvarez, man. You have global contradiction going on, man. Most of those fights that Canelo is going the distance with, nobody considered them to be 50-50 fights. But there was plenty of people believing that Madrimov was going to beat Crawford because he was moving up from 47 and he was taking on too much. He was overdoing it. He was getting greedy. He's too small, too small, too small. That's what you heard. So they felt that, Madrimov has a very high chance of beating Bud. That's why when the fight happened, you had all these boxing fans out here with these remote high-tech microscopes where they can see every freaking pimple on these fighters' face. And they zoom out just a little bit to see their every movement. And only fighter that they was watching was Madrimov. If Madrimov just twitch a little bit and throw a punch, oh, they sound like Jim Lampley. You see that shot land? Oh my God. Madrimov is special. You can see the extensive amateur pedigree exuding from his body. Oh my God. He is shining right now. I'm telling you. Global contradiction going on with these people, bro. They say they want to see the best fight the best, but I don't believe them. They just want to talk as if that's something that interests them, but they keep on thinking that Bud Crawford isn't qualified. Now they want to talk about glove size. Now they want to talk about weight. We still talking about 14 pounds. I got to hit my AI on you. We're not talking about my credentials and being two division undisputed. We're busy up here talking about 14 pounds. Not a man who has an extensive amount of accolades. 13 world titles. 14 now. 4-division world champion and heading to his 5th division. You're talking about what? 14 pounds? You're not talking about a guy who's been in there with Olympians, defeated Olympians and champions. You're talking about 14 pounds. You can't get past 14 freaking pounds. And then when you do get past it, what you say? Oh my God, it might be a boring fight. You know why? Because, Crawford may be unwilling to engage Canelo due to Canelo's crazy power. Oh my God, phenomenal power. He has phenomenal power. That's what they want you to believe. He has phenomenal power. He has that right, cross that he lands on the left deltoid of his opposition. And it's said that it detaches upon impact ligaments. You know what I'm saying? Tendons, muscle, it detaches it from the bone. A fighter feels it's almost like, putting your hand up on a power grid. They say that's the way it feels when Canelo punches his opponents in the arm. It feels like you got an ultimate shock from sticking your finger on the power grid. Yeah. They say fighters have an out-of-body experience. Well, if they are having out-of-body experiences, they must be getting back in body real quick, because Canelo's opponents, and he's the younger fighter, y'all. Canelo's opponent's been going the distance. They've been going the distance. That's a fact. But let me bring up this also when it comes to September 13th. 5th division for Crawford. Canelo won't be contending for a 5th division when he steps in the ring September 13th. It's another layer, another page to submit in the boxing annals for Crawford going up there and contending his 5th division. That's huge. That is incredibly huge. Now, there are the naysayers who are saying that Canelo has nothing to gain from this fight. So let me ask you this. If you believe that Canelo has nothing to gain from this fight, is he the primary reason that you say the fight may be boring because you have seen Canelo just remain flat-footed and unwilling, knowing that he has a multi-fight deal with Turki Al-Sheikh, he's unwilling to go for the kill? Are you somewhat indirectly in a circuitous way speaking on Canelo Alvarez without mentioning his name, but yet you allow people to freely blame Crawford and act like that's the targeted president? No, no, no. That's not cool. That's not cool. Canelo signed a multi-fight deal. Absolutely. But with that said, if the purses are in his account and it's over 100 million, fight fans may see Canelo not doing enough either, especially if they keep on talking that Canelo's going to go in the fight 5 rounds up like he was with Bivol. You know, I mean, they're putting everything, all the pluses in Canelo's favor, but yet they say they wanted to see the best fight the best. If the best is going to step in the ring with this type of matchup right here, something has to be pliable. We have to just take a moment and exhale and say, okay, you want to see the best fight the best. What's next? You seem dissatisfied. You seem dissatisfied, yo. You want to see the best fight the best, but you come up with all these, oh, it's going to be low ticket sales. Are you on crack? How is it possible that you believe this fight is not going to break records? How is it possible that you think in one breath you're highlighting Canelo Alvarez and his Mexican fan base, and that he has solid, official, certified Mexican fan base, and you're trying to say at this given moment no one's gonna watch the fight? No one's gonna look. They're gonna just all of a sudden pick a time like September to say that, oh, I don't want to see Canelo fight Crawford. I don't care. 14 pounds is a lot. I just don't think he's able to do that. Well, Canelo did it. See, that was different though, because if you look back, he had already fought at 168. That was before. He went back down to 160, moved all the way up to 175. The fake, the older, dilapidated Sergey Kovalev, which at one point in time, yes, the man was a killer. But when it came down Canelo moving up to those divisions, they would say, oh, Canelo's daring to be Canelo. We can't say great no more when it comes to Canelo. We got to say his name. You're daring to be Canelo. Because everybody want to use him as a comparison to what's great in boxing. Even though he's not performing at a great level, they want to continue to talk as if he is. Now, you get another fighter that's saying, yeah, that was one point in time, and I said it's a weight division for a reason. I wasn't even thinking about him. But then it turned around, and I decided to make a decision that I wanted to face Canelo. Now all hell break loose. What is Crawford thinking? You're talking about an undefeated fighter, yo. You're talking about an undefeated fighter. They say too small. He fought nobody. He's chinny. He's on snack. Snack has been such a higher volume of chatter recently. People are trying their best to put this agitprop out to the public that snack is somehow different for Crawford. They say when Crawford received his snack pack, security makes sure nobody's around within 1,000-yard radius. They double check it with heat sensors. After the dogs have cleared it out, Crawford goes into a room and Victor Conte gives him the special package. That's what these haters are saying. He's not marketable. Most hated. Past his prime. He's doing this He's challenging Canelo Alvarez for a paycheck. And then to put a dash after that, Canelo's doing it for a paycheck too, because Canelo is getting paid his highest paycheck ever in his boxing career, thanks to good old Terrence Bud Crawford. Something has to give. Something has to give, yo. Like, Canelo is getting his highest paycheck. So there's a benefit for him fighting Crawford. Canelo doesn't win, he still has a very heavy set of numbers that's in his bank account. He says no power at 168. They saying based off the Madrimal fight at 154, it's definitely no way that Crawford's power is going to carry forward to 168. Okay? It says too much muscle. They have seen frames that have been in circulation, and they're saying that he's putting on too much muscle. Like, we have unqualified. We have people that are overweight behind logos. They're sitting up. Oh, there's too much muscle. You have people that sitting behind logos, yo. They themselves are deconditioned, but yet they want to speak on a professional athlete that contend at a high level, and they want to speak as if they're qualified, y'all. They're qualified for this. Then his ego. Oh man, his ego. When he gets hit, he just don't know how to turn it down. He got to go all in. He got to go all in. You do that against Canelo. You know what I'm saying? That's their favorite. He does that against Canelo. He does that against Canelo. Canelo, you know, has this unbelievable, unique equalizer. Something that they say he purchased from space. Yeah, they say they have a whole full warehouse up there in space where you could get these tools that has energy that you cannot find down here. Somewhat like vibranium. Seriously. Stay in his division. They have been putting these rules down for Crawford to stay at 154 pounds. Don't move up to 168. It's too much. They almost like they're basically hotlining Rocky. Crawford, you can't. You know what I'm saying? They act like Adrian ringside speaking to Crawford. They say Bud has slow feet, yo. I don't know where they get this at. Slow feet when Canelo is like a platypus. Canelo is flat-footed. That's why he was refusing to really, get the sprint up, the chase skull around the ring. Cash out. With the payday that Crawford's receiving for fighting Canelo, they saying he's cashing out. Man, what a man, what a man, what a man he is. He's cashing out, y'all. But yet, when you get these boxing enthusiasts together, they say it's all about the money. Depending on what the name is in the discussion, they'll say it's all about boxing being a business. Then they would throw the name up there. Hey, so-and-so, they made this last fight. So-and-so, he got offered 7 times what he made already. So they pick and choose selectively on who they want to pinpoint when it comes to the money. They want to pick and choose. That's how it works. Money really don't mean anything unless it's the favorite fighter and they're trying to pretty much prove a point with evidence that this is the leverage that fighter have. They made 2.5 last fight. So, they should be getting double or triple what they made last fight, because now they're a champion. Now they're a champion. And then retirement. They say after this, Crawford's going to retire. Though Crawford has been on record as saying he don't have that many fights left, no one truly knows if this is going to be his final fight. No one truly knows. But what's official, like a referee's whistle, is that this fight has been out there and it's on flyers, and goddamn, it's happening in September, bro. No doubt about it. I got to get to these fights. I really want to see some of them go down. I'll probably be back on a little later, but shout out to the hottest chat in the MFing game. Yes, sir. A-Side Official. Appreciate y'all pulling up as always. Until next time, we'll do it again. I'm out.